Hello, Algebra 1. So what we're going to be doing today is a quick quiz review to help prepare you for your quiz that you're going to take. So just a couple of problems that should give you some extra practice before you'll be taking your quiz. So make sure your calculators are out because we will need them. Alright, so our first problem on your quick quiz review says to write the equation in standard form in two different ways. So standard form, remember, is when your A, your B, and your C value are all on one side, and that means you also must have an equals 0. So what I'm going to do is add my 8x over. That will give me a 2x squared. Negative 10 plus 8 is a negative 2x. And then I'm also going to subtract my 4 over. That will give me now a negative 4 equals 0 because I moved everything from that one side. So this is the standard form that most of you are going to get. However, this problem does say that we need two different standard forms. So the other standard form that we're going to get is just to change all of our signs. Basically, you're going to take your equation and multiply by a negative 1. So switch all your signs, negative 2x squared plus 2x plus 4 equals 0. And these two are the same thing. Basically, it's what you would get if you moved all of your x's to the right side instead of to the left side like we did. So these are the two possible answers that you could have. All right, okay, next, solve using quadratic formula, show work. So again, you do need to get standard form first. So we want to move everything to one side. We want to have an equals 0. So I will start by adding my 2x over. 4x squared, negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6x. And then also I will subtract my 5 over. So it is a negative 5 now equals 0. Next, I need to identify my a's, b's, and c's. A will be 4. Remember, it's always the number in front of x squared. B is negative 6, always the number with x. C is negative 5, your number at the end. Remember, you can't identify A, B, and C until you have an equals 0. All right? So make sure you move everything over first. Let me write our quadratic formula up at the top. This will be given to you on your quiz, so no worries memorizing it. All right, here we go. Let's give it a try. X is equal to opposite B. So our B is negative. Opposite B is a positive. Plus or minus square root B squared. Our B is negative 6. Make sure you have parentheses around it. So squared minus 4. My A value is 4. My C value is negative 5. All over 2 times my A value is 4. My next step is to evaluate the discriminant. That's this part underneath the square root. Make sure you don't type the actual square root into your calculator, and also make sure that you use parentheses. So go ahead and type that in. Okay, it should look just like this. I'm going to give you a minute to type that in as well. And here we go. You should get a discriminant of 116. Okay, if you didn't get this, really check to make sure you typed it in exactly the way I did here. Okay, so now we rewrite 6 plus or minus square root of 116 all over 2 times 4 is 8. And the last thing I'm going to do is just type this into my calculator. Remember, you do need to type this in 2 different times to find both solutions. 6 plus square root 116. Make sure you press enter, then divide by 8. Don't forget to divide by 8. And we're going to round this to the nearest hundredth. So when you round, you're going to go 2 in. So 2 in is 9. Go to the one right next to it. It's bigger than a 5. So 0.9 will round up to 10. So x equals 2.10, or, and now we do this again, 6 minus square root 116, enter, divide by 8. And again, same situation. Your second number is a 9, but the 6 is going to move it up. So 0.59 will become 0.60. And make sure you have the negative as well. So x equals 2.10 or negative 0.60. All right, so we just have 2 graphing problems left. Miss Bramer is sitting in a tree 15 feet up. She drops her cell phone to Miss Morfeld below. If Miss Morfeld catches the cell phone at a height of 5 feet, how long was the cell phone in the air? So 15 feet up, 5 feet. Your equations or formulas will be provided for you on the quiz for these as well. What I want you to notice is that this does not include anything about velocity. So your formula will be h equals negative 16t squared plus s, where h is your end height and s is your starting height. So think about what's really happening here in the problem. Miss Bramer, who is me, is in a tree. I'm dropping my cell phone. Okay, so the end height is going to be 5 because that's where Miss Morfeld is catching it. And the starting height is going to be 15 because that's where I'm dropping it from. Now, if you want to solve this algebraically and subtract your 15 over and divide by negative 16 and square root, you are more than welcome to. I am going to solve by graphing. So I'm going to go to my calculator. Everything to the left of the equal sign, I will put in y1. Everything to the right of the equal sign, I will put in y2. I'll give you a minute to get that typed in as well. And always do a zoom 6. And we'll see that this is what our picture looks like. Notice you can't see the top of your parabola. That's okay, but when you draw your sketch, I want to be able to see the top of it. So it should be drawn something like this. Okay, so go ahead, take a minute to draw that sketch. Remember, we are looking for our intersection points. You should notice that there are 2 of them. And now we'll go ahead and find them using our second trace 5. So please go ahead and do this along with me. Don't just watch on the video. Second trace 5. Enter, enter, enter. So that looks like it's going to round to 0.79, comma 5. And now I'll go ahead and I'll do the other one as well. Second trace 5. Move the cursor on over. Enter, enter, enter. And it looks like a negative 0.79. And for these drop problems where there is no velocity, you are always going to have this symmetry. So you really just have to find one intersection point and the other one will be the opposite of it, whether it be positive or negative. Don't forget to give your final answer. Our final answer would be the cell phone is in the air for 0.79 seconds. Because time can't be negative. You do need to provide both intersection points though. Okay. All right, last one. Sarah throws a snowball from a second-story window 20 feet up in the air. She throws the snowball with a downward velocity of 35 feet per second. How long will it take the snowball to hit the ground? So this equation has velocity, or this problem has velocity. So we will use this formula. H equals negative 16t squared plus vt plus s. So again, think about what's happening here. The snowball is being thrown and it's hitting the ground. So if it's hitting the ground, that's referring to your end height. This is h. So the ground is 0. Your velocity is 35 feet per second, but it is downward. So you will need to have a negative 35. And s is your starting height. Where is the snowball starting? 20 feet up. So plus 20. Okay, now we can go ahead. We can type this into our calculator. So 0 will go in for y1. And go ahead and get the second part of the equation typed in. Check that you didn't lose any x's. You should have an x squared and an x. And make sure that 35 is a minus in front of it, not a negative. Okay, so there are lots of little details to be careful of when you type this in. Remember, when you're taking your quiz, if you try to graph something and you get a syntax error means you typed something in wrong. Okay, so please be aware of that. Go back, delete, try it again. All right, so notice again, your horizontal line is at 0. And notice this is not symmetrical over the y-axis because we have velocity this time. When you sketch this, please do draw the whole parabola. You don't need to change your window because we don't care where the max is. Just make sure you actually draw it in. So I'm looking for something like this. That actually looks more symmetrical than it should. So let's try that again. There we go. 2 intersection points. You will need to find both of them. Second, trace 5. Enter, enter, enter. That's going to round to 0.47, comma 0. Second, trace 5. Move it on over. Enter, enter, enter. Come back. Negative 2.6. All right, 2 in is 5. There's a 7, so it'll move the 5 up. So negative 2.66, comma 0. And remember, you do have to give your final answer. So your final answer would be 0.47 seconds, since time cannot be negative. All right, so you will have 2 questions like these graphing problems on your quiz. You should expect one to be a drop question, like number 3, and one to be a velocity question, like number 4. So these types of problems will be worth 3 points. I am looking for 1 point for plugging into your equation, 1 point for your picture, and 1 point for your final answer. Please do have both intersection points. Okay, all right, please make sure you listen to your sub. Remember, after your quiz, no cell phones. Chromebooks are fine, but make sure that it stays quiet so that people can work, and do a good job on your quiz. Best of luck to you. See ya on Monday. Bye.